Okay, so to understand this lesson, you need to understand we've done two different formulas now. We have what we call standard. That's called standard form. And we have what we call general. I should mathematically, algebraically be able to go between the two forms. Okay? So that's what we're going to learn today. How can I go from this way to this way? How can I go from this way to this way? Okay? When you take an equation and rearrange it algebraically, it should still be the same graph. Right? It should still have the same vertex. It should still have the same slope. You're just changing its math looks, right? Okay, so here's going from standard to general. That's very easy, so you're not going to be tested on it, but here's how you do it. Okay, so the first step, so this is in standard, I would expand that. Okay, so how do you square something? What does squaring mean? So here's what you need to understand. You're squaring this unit. You're not squaring individual things. You're squaring this unit. Okay, how do you FOIL that? Can you FOIL that? Square it out, FOIL it. Okay, everyone was good on their FOIL? First out in last. Okay, next step. I'm going to put those X things together, and I'm also going to minus 7. Would that make sense why I'd want to do that? Because I want y equals x squared together minus 8x. The number is 9. Okay, so that's pretty easy, just basic math skills you've learned from the past, rearrange. Today we're going to learn how are we going to get from here back to here. How can we get back there? We're going to learn that today. It's a little bit more complicated, and the name of the process is called complete the square. That's what it's going to be called. When am I going to ever do this? I'm only going to specifically do this on my test when it tells me to. I would never use this for figuring out the vertex because if I'm looking like this, I have a way to get the vertex. If I look like this, I have a way to get the vertex. Okay, so I don't need to ever use this process unless it tells me to. Okay, so here's your warm-up. Can you square that for me? Can you square that for me? I want you to get me a trinomial out of that. So FOIL it. There's a collect in the middle, and what does it make? FOIL, collect, make a trinomial. Can you do another one? Can you give me another squared? So a binomial squared. Okay, we need to decide what happened here. We're going to say this is the rule that happens. So I want you to look at the number inside your binomial, and I want you to look at some of the numbers you're getting on your answers. Okay, if you find it, don't shout it out yet. Let some people think. There's something going on that has a relationship. There's a number in the brackets, and then there's numbers in your trinomial. So there's always a consistent relationship. Okay, so whatever number is here, so there was a 3 here, and then it turned into that. There was a -5 here, and it turned into that. So depending on this number, what's the relationship in the middle? What's the relationship between the number and what you get in the middle? The number and what you get in the middle. Always doubled. It's always going to double. Foiling, you add and add, right? So you add twice. And then, what's the connection with the number and the end? The number and the end? Squared. Okay, it always kind of follows our factoring, what multiplies to this and adds to this. Right? That's the pattern. What multiplies and adds to. Okay, I'm going to start making you go backwards now. What if I give you this trinomial? What was the squared unit? What squared would make that then? So think about your doubled and your squared relationship. Did you put x plus 7? Because it doubled to the 14 in the middle, and it squared to the 49. Can you give me a binomial that does that there then? Has to make a -20 in the middle and 100 on the outside. Should go x minus 10. Okay, I'm going to add a layer. This time, I want a number to go here and to go here. So why don't we think like this first? What would have to be inside the squared part to get me a -12 in the middle? -6 would have to be doubling. That's the double. Which would put a what at the end? 36. So I'm thinking doubling, squaring. I'm getting all those relationships connected. Can you give me the last one there too, on your own? So you should have thought about a 9 doubling, which would multiply to 81. Okay, so here's the summary of the process. So if I have something in the middle here, what I'm going to do, so pretend you don't see that. So how did I get the 81? How did I do that? I looked at this and I did what? Did you put a 9 in your brain when you looked at that? So you took half of it. So you took half of it and then you squared it. That was what you did. Whatever's in the middle, so 18. so what's half of it? Because the 18 is the double of something, so to go backwards, I half it. Half of it was 9, and then 9 squared was the 18. Okay, that's your warm-up, so we're ready. We are ready to figure out this, complete the square. We're going to go from here to here. This is our goal, to get from that to that. Okay, so step 1 is move the C. Move the C. Step 2 is called complete the square. This is step 2. Complete the square. What number are we going to put on that trinomial's end? So again, what did we say we should do? We should take half, square it. So what kind of value do you want to put at the end? Half squared. Did you put a 16 there? Because I got a -4 squared is 16. Do you know that this is always a plus at the end, no matter what? Because 2 negatives is plus, 2 positives plus. Step 3, you need to do a balance. What does that mean? Math is a teeter-totter. You added 16 pounds to one side of your teeter-totter, so what should you do? You should also add 16 to the other side. And step 4. I need you to make it look like that. So this would become y plus 7. The a is just 1, so I'm not going to write anything, right? I don't need to write 1. Binomial squared. So we practiced this up there, right? What is the square that makes that binomial? So there needs to be an x to get the x squared. What's the number that adds or doubles to that and squares to that? Did we reach our goal? We already knew that. See, we knew these equations were each other, and we got there.
So we only didn't test it on general to standard, and not so much general.
We are going to go from general to standard only on our test. Yep. Okay, you ready? We're going to, I'm not going to write them out, I'm just going to do them. Okay, move. Step 1, move. You are going to always be creating the trinomial of your choice. You want to have your own trinomial. So what is the trinomial? Step 2. What is the trinomial you want to have? Instead of having the 5 there, you would like to finish this with a, I'm going to do the complete the square, half squared. Do you have a value? 1. Half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. Step 3. What do you do now? What happened to your teeter-totter? Balance it. Step 4. finalize it. So this would go y subtract 4 and then I don't have an a, so I'm going to leave that alone. I have just a 1 there. So then brackets squared. Okay, and remember, obviously you're going to have a formula sheet. This is exactly what I'm trying to look like. X, so remember I'm foiling it out. What's going to FOIL out to multiply to that and add to that? Plus 1. Multiplies to that, adds twice to that. Okay, ready to amp it up a notch, next level. What's different about this one? Coefficient there. We're going to call it a, what did I call it there without those letters? Complex trinomial. Okay, complete the square only works for simple trinomials, okay? So we're going to rearrange stuff. Step 1, I'm going to write this again because there's a little bit different. Step 1 is move the c, so that's the same. Okay, here's where the mistakes happen. Here's where the mistakes happen. People try to do their blank thing right here. You cannot do that. You cannot do it there. What did I just say? You can't do complete the squares unless it is a simple trinomial. So do not do it there. That's not simple. So step 2 is to factor out the a. You're going to factor out the a. Guess what? It makes sense because look at my sheet. Where's the a? Outside all that other stuff. So we're going to get it out. That's what we're doing, right? So if you forget on the test, think about that formula. What's going on with the a? It's out of that stuff. Okay, so what does this look like? The a is 2, so I'm going to go 2 bracket. 2 times what? X squared. 2 times what? Negative 8. Now I'm going to leave room because I'm going to make a simple trinomial now. So this is where we can go on from our other steps. Okay, so that is the big one. The step 2 is the big one. Okay, the rest of the steps are the same. So step 3 is complete the square. Step 3, complete the square. Blank. End your simple trinomial. So I'm looking at this now. I'm not looking at 16. I'm looking at the 8 part. Half squared step 4, same old, balance it back out because you did something that wasn't there. Do you see that in math? That was not there at all. So if you throw something on that wasn't there, you got to change the other side. Okay, you're not going to add 16 to the other side. That does not balance it out. Does anybody know what to put to the other side that would change it to the same? How much did that change it by? 32, yeah. Because what's going on with the 16? Don't forget, it's times by that value right there. So really, I've changed this by a 32. So that is a little bit different than before. Okay, so step 5, final. I need you to make it look, boom, like that. I need you to make it look exactly like this form. So this would be a y, what, plus 2 equals 2, some kind of squared. So what's going to square to make that trinomial? You see all the components of this foiling it out? Foiling out makes that, adds squares. Okay, we'll do one more hard one. I'm going to skip this. I'm going to go to that one because I see a negative in the front of that one. That's different, so we're going to see. Okay, ready? Step 1. Get that out. Okay, one thing to remember, do not start the process here. You cannot start this whole blank thing. That's not where you want to do it. Okay, so you need to develop a simple trinomial instead. So -4 out. Okay, so make yourself a trinomial. So -4 times x squared makes that. -4 times what makes that? And then the trinomial that we are making is always what we want at the end, right? Simple trinomials, finish how you want. Simple trinomial, end it how you want. But not a complex. Okay, give me a number, half squared. 4. Okay, now think about balancing it out. It's not 4. Subtract 16. That's where I'm getting it from. Everything that I've done in here is also times by -4. So that's subtract 16. So y plus 1 equals -4 brackets squared x minus 2. Okay? If I ask you some quick questions, can you answer them? Like, what's the vertex? Boom, get it. How do you look for it here? +2, opposite, -1. Remember that?
Why would it be -16?
Because I have
Oh,
minus,
yeah.
yeah, I took 16 off of that side, technically, so I should take 16 off that side. Does anybody know what the y-intercept is that quickly? Boom. Y-intercept.
1.
No. The y-intercept.
Oh, my.
Somewhere, boom, -17 is the y-intercept. So there's some things you can know quick. Vertex, I can see. Y-intercept, I can see. Would this have a min or a max? I see that because of the negative. So max, max. Okay, those things you all know as well, right? Those are the back of your mind connecting everything together. Okay, so on page 8, that's your homework. On the first 6 questions, all I want to know is just what should I put at the end? Okay, so all you're doing is half squared. Okay, what's half of a quarter? So think about if you're getting a quarter of a pie, and then your quarter piece you have to cut in half. You get a what? An eighth. What is 1/8 squared? So what is 1 squared on the top and what? Aiden, put your calculator away. What's 1 squared on the top? 1. What's 8 squared on the bottom? Boom, that's all I want. What's half squared? That's all you're doing on question 1 through 6. Okay, and then on the bottom, you can see I started you, these are all simple, simples. And then once you hit question 11, then you got the factor out ones, okay? So I progress you so you can start simple, but then you go to the complex ones. Vertex, y-intercept, and slope. You should be able to see. Those ones should be, look at the HK opposite. For vertex, y-intercept, look at this, how quick I could be. 10, -60, 2, those are my y-intercepts. Slopes, look how fast I could be. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, -3. Those are my slopes, okay? So those are the things you can find.